Okay, we're gonna need coffee for this one. My first week at Laurier was chaos, confusion, mayhem, and joy, and I'm gonna tell you everything, especially for those of you thinking of going to Laurier, and specifically Laurier University, Brantford. Hey friends, it's your good friend Tim Campbell-Smith, and today I'm gonna tell you what my first week of school has been like at Wilfrid Laurier University at the Brantford campus. We are going to talk about why you will have to constantly be telling people if you go to Laurier Brantford, why that's different. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we are going to get into it. Before we go too far, make sure you like and subscribe for all things higher ed, business, mental health, photography, and life. Okay. I have so many stories, and I didn't know where to start the story, so we're just going to start at the beginning at orientation week, and we're going to work our way through. And truthfully, now that I've got you here and used my clickbait, I will say this has actually been the first 10 days, week and a half, and we'll talk about why it can't just be the first week, but this has really been the first week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks. So the debacle started with orientation week. Basically, orientation week started off poorly and was a very rough start for me because I've discovered if you don't do every single activity in a given day and you don't engage with the whole day, you can't really show up late. You can't really pick and choose what you do. It's kind of all or nothing each day. If you miss a day, you can totally come and join the next day. There were, I think 9 days of activities, and orientation week was 7 to 9 days. It was quite a long time, but I was fine. I found that you couldn't really join late. I had what I call the horrible, awful day where I didn't really want to do many of the activities, but I wanted to go because I wanted to pick up my student card. I wanted to go to the bookstore and to pick up a textbook, maybe some swag, and I needed to find my other classroom because I had no idea where it was, and I didn't want to be finding it on the day of class. And that wasn't really possible because departments had posted wrong information. They had posted that you could pick up your student card on some days, and when you couldn't, and where to go to find things, and that also wasn't accurate. So after I had this horrible, awful debacle on one day, I wrote to all the departments that affected because I had problems with the bookstore, I had problems with the student union, I had problems with the Brantford campus folks, and I'm going to explain what all of these groups are in a little bit. I had problems with these departments, so I sent them all an email being I had this horrible, awful orientation experience, and here's why. And it was kind of nice. It was kind of nice for them to admit, and a few of them came back and said, you're right, we had posted incorrect information on social media, on email channels, we hadn't cross-referenced it, we hadn't fact-checked it, and that is a large part of what led to you having such a poor experience, and we're so sorry. So the social media was kind of a funny situation. This led me, and has led me, to the first thing that I learned in my first week, and I gotta pass on this wisdom. You are expected, whether it's verbalized or not, you are expected to follow every single department on social media. And the social media always depends on basically what the kids are using. As a 33-year-old, I think I can say that. So for us, it's Instagram. Every single department, whenever I had questions, they would say well, make sure you follow us on Instagram because we talked about that on Instagram. And if you had questions, you would have seen it on Instagram and you can DM us on Instagram. So heads up, I've come to learn when you go to university, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be true for most universities, you are expected to follow all the different departments on social media. You are expected to DM them, to direct message them. I found though, and I didn't learn this until after the fact, that you have to DM them, but especially on Instagram, if you don't know this, people who have never messaged you before, their DMs go into a request folder. If you don't know to check the request folder often, those messages get missed. So I found that I would I have over the summer messaged departments and they never got back to me. And I've since come to learn that I have a couple followers and I know a couple people who went to Laurier and went to Laurier Brantford specifically. And they said, oh yeah, Laurier is not good at, like, you can't get a hold of them when you're in an emergency or you need something in a time sensitive manner. Email, phone, if they even have a phone number, social media, they are not good at responding to. So if you're in an emergency situation or you need something time sensitive from a department, just assume that you're not going to get it because they're not going to respond to you on social media. They're not going to respond through email. I've come to learn that, and turns out other people know it too. One good thing that came from orientation, though, and I will say, was the swag bag. Even though I am a grown 30-year-old man, I still love swag, and I still love a good swag bag. And there was some pretty cool swag. So first was like actually a decent tote. So we got this tote, and I'm like, this is the perfect size for a lot of different things. But then with the tote, at first I did not understand the clear pencil case. I'm like, do I really need a pencil case? Like, what do I need it for? Turns out, when you go to write exams, you can bring in a pencil case, but the pencil case must be clear and see-through. That's why they give you a clear pencil case, so you can bring it to exams. There was a lanyard. I tried to use this for a day. You gotta know, I'm a big guy, so it's kind of hard to see, maybe hard to see for scale, but this thing is massive. I used it for a day, and then I was like, I don't like it because it's way too big. Speaking of way too big for like common everyday use, but like the water bottle. The water bottle was super cool. I just found in practicality, I had it on campus with me for one day. This thing was massive. It was heavy. It was massive. The hole is massive. So I was just constantly scared of like dribbling on myself. So I don't really use it on campus, but I do use it at home. There was also like a fanny pack. There were stickers. There were buttons. They had things for like if you wear Crocs. So the one good thing I will say that one of the good things that came out of orientation week was a phenomenal swag bag. My understanding from Reddit, because I saw people posting about the swag bag on Reddit, my understanding is that the swag bag only gets better every year. People from even 4 or 5 years ago were responding and going like, wow, I wish my swag bag or my swag was that good. So I'm very happy with the swag bag. Good job, Laurier. Good swag bag. Then with my first week came a bunch of different meetups and events. Now there were a lot of events that I didn't feel like were for me and I didn't go, and I'm happy I didn't go. I didn't feel the pressure to go. Like I did not want to be decorating t-shirts. But there was like the club fair. Oh my God, it was huge. There were so many clubs and you can learn about all the different organizations that you could get involved with. Everybody was so friendly. They were handing out pretty cool swag there too. So like club fair was a lot of fun. Mature and transfer student meetup was so awesome because I knew that I'd be heading into a situation where I was not like most other students. And at Laurier Brantford, it is a pretty young crowd. There's not as many mature and transfer students, but oh my God, it felt so reassuring to walk into a room of my people. And interestingly, there's kind of a benefit to being a social work student because most of the mature and transfer students are social work students. Now, they were transferring into second and third year. I'm literally starting off in first year, so they're a little ahead of me, but I'm now just assuming like, oh, when I get to second year, there will be others in my classes who are my age. When I get into third year, there definitely will be. There were also meetups and orientations for your faculty. So I went to like the social work faculty meetup. It was super awesome. It was great to meet faculty. They had great advice for us. It was so awesome to meet with them. So that was definitely like a really wicked part of orientation week was orientation just for your program, just for your department. There were also meetups, a common meetup orientation for your residents. So there's a few different residences at Laurier Brantford, but also if you're not in residence, you're part of Locus, something like Laurier off campus, something or other for people who live off campus. So you could go to those as well. Okay, so I just fact checked something before I tell this story. Yes, I've got the facts. I am in the right. Let's talk about the bookstore that doesn't sell books. Advice that I had gotten and I acted on, and I want to pass this on, was to, before buying a textbook, check with your prof if you're actually going to use the textbook. One prof emailed out of the gate in the middle of summer saying like, yes, you will absolutely need the textbook. And then I emailed the other two profs asking, hey, will we need the textbook? They both said yes. My one textbook, we could only get at the bookstore. I couldn't find it on Amazon, Indigo, anywhere. And So my first day of orientation, I had carved out some time. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bookstore to get the last textbook that I need. Also, I would love a social work shirt and some branded swag. So I go to the bookstore. Now, please note they call it the Hawk Shop. It's been rebranded Hawk, because we're the Golden Hawks, Hawk Shop. I wanted to check, and yes, on their digital marketing channels, they still call it the bookstore. They are a bookstore that doesn't sell books. At least textbooks, anyways. So I go there and I'm looking around. It actually starts by trying to get program swag. You got to know, social work is an exclusive to Brantford program. If you want to study social work at Laurier, you have to go to Brantford. And we are a large community. There are a lot of social work students. Just like there's a lot of crim or criminology. There's a lot of BTM, Bachelor of Technology Management students. So I couldn't find social work swag, and they were like, we only have a few t-shirts left. Otherwise, you have to custom order it. It's extra, like you're paying extra for it. So that was kind of shocking. And then I was like, okay. And the woman asks, do you need anything else? I said, yes, I'm here. I got to buy my last textbook for my class. And she says, oh, we don't sell textbooks here. What you mean you're a bookstore that don't sell textbooks? And she said, oh, it's completely done online. So then the geriatric millennial me said, oh, okay, well, why don't you on your little computer pull it up and help me order it, and we'll order it here together. And she goes, oh, no, 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 no. You have to order it yourself. So you're telling me that you're a bookstore that doesn't sell textbooks and you can't even facilitate the sale of the textbook? I have to go get it myself? Yes. So I leave the bookstore without my book. I did get my social work t-shirt because I got one of the few left. And I went and I bought my textbook. And then, are you ready for this? The bookstore website says that book orders will typically be delivered within 2 to 3 business days if you order it to the bookstore. So imagine my delight when the next day, in the early afternoon, well before they're closed, I get the email saying, your book has arrived to the bookstore. You can come pick it up. Great. I still have it, so I'm going to show you what they handed me. So I go and I say, hi, I'm Tim Campbell-Smith. I'm here picking up my textbook. Like, great. Can we see your student ID with your student number? Because we have to match the order. Great. So I show it to them, and then they give me this. Look at how thin this is. Look at how thin this is. And I look at it and I go, what is that? And she goes, must be your textbook. And she goes, oh, your prof must have ordered the digital online version. I open this envelope from UPS that had to be express shipped. And this is what was inside. It was a piece of paper with an access code to access the textbook, which I can't even access on my iPad. I can only do it on desktop. Story on this, when I actually got to my first public health class and the prof was talking about it, she said, yeah, it should be quite a thick book, but it's got a lot of handy information, which in reference information, which is why I include it in the course. And I told her, I'm like, they told me I could only get a digital copy. And she goes, they screwed up. So the other thing that I came to learn with the Hawk Shop, so remember, you have to follow every department on social media, including the Hawk Shop, which is the bookstore. And I'm literally looking at the Google search results in front of me for both pages related to web pages related to the Hawk Shop. It says bookstore, retail services, students, and their social media is they say for both for all locations, but oftentimes when they post about the Hawk Shop, they are posting about the Waterloo location. So I've come to learn, and we'll talk about this in other videos. Brantford, we are reminded that we are not Waterloo students. We do not get access to the same things the Waterloo students get. So you just have to watch that. Let's just say I'm not the biggest fan of the Hawk Shop, the bookstore at Laurier that does not sell textbooks. So I learned from my profs, I didn't need textbooks in all courses. Do not think that you need textbooks for all courses, so that was very lovely. There were 2 courses that had no textbooks. That felt great. That said, the profs were amazing and did tell us, which classes we do need them for and which books we do need. So $340 later, I have my books. Next, I tried out the gym. When you go to Laurier Brantford, your gym membership gets you into technically a YMCA. I believe Laurier co-owns the YMCA in downtown Brantford. I learned from a previous alum they were paying for it in their student fees when they were building it. They didn't have access to it. So that's why I think Laurier kind of co-owns it. It's split on 2 levels. You go in on a lower level. There's change rooms there. There's technically two gymnasiums in there, big gymnasiums to play in. But otherwise, to work out, it's on the 2nd and 3rd floor. The 3rd floor is what is street level to Laurier and downtown. It's fine. I've been going to Good Life Fitness for a couple of years pretty regularly, and I'm used to that. Yes, Good Life has problems, but now I'm realizing oh, Good Life kind of gave me an expected standard of gyms. So to me, the YMCA at Laurier Brantford, it's fine. It does the job. You will definitely be able to get in a good workout, and all the equipment you need is there. It's just split between 2 levels. Part of my experience as well is, I will say, there were non-stop events. Many looked fun. I went to a couple, not many, but I did notice that with the events, even the ones that I walked by or the ones I went to, they weren't awesome at facilitating making friends. So if you go alone, it's not as easy to make friends. I went to the mayor's lunch, and because there were so many things going on, people already seemed to be in friend clusters. There was no one bringing groups together, doing activities, or making connections between people. So as cool as the events were, they are way better if you already go in with a group of friends. It's not a great place to go and make new friends. I will say I didn't really make friends from events. So then we get to classes, and classes started on Thursday. Laurier, or maybe Laurier Brantford, has lots of online classes, which I enjoy. So there's lots of courses that you can take online that are asynchronous or synchronous, where you meet on Zoom. So I loved that. Because I have 2 online asynchronous classes, one of them is epidemiology, which sucks out my soul and is so hard and so much work. I started Thursday and Friday, I started on classwork. Also, though, because I've come to learn that faculty across different departments don't really talk to each other. So my 2 online asynchronous profs counted that Thursday as week 1. And for them, the week goes Thursdays to Wednesday because the semester started on a Thursday. But for my in-person classes, or my synchronous classes, they counted the following Monday as week 1. So there's a little bit of discrepancy there. Either way, I started with my online courses that first week to start getting them out of the way. And thank goodness, because definitely with online classes, there's no syllabus day. You just jump into the work. The syllabus is explained in 2 different web pages, and then they're off to the races, go. One class had a quiz right away. Another class, they give you 12 assignment choices. You pick 4 and do them. And they have corresponding due date weeks. So I wanted to do the assignment that was due in week 2. So I had to get a start on that. But then the other assignments I want to do are for week something 6, 8, and 11. So now I won't, those won't come due until after reading week. I have 2 classes that are in person on campus. They are 3 hours each. So there's kind of this rumor, this idea, this saying that your first class is just syllabus day. I did not find that to be true when you have 3-hour classes. And I heard of other people with 3-hour classes that it was not just syllabus day, where you just talk about the syllabus and you call it a day. No. In both of my 3-hour classes, they, went over the syllabus a little bit and then launched straight into lecture and straight into class. One class that I'm taking, 40% of your final mark is based on activities that you have to do in class. You have to be in class for. So we had an assessment worth 5% on day 1. Most of my profs, so I will say, in my experience, most of my profs started with a bang. There was no playing around. This is university, and we launched straight into it. I will say, and we still have to talk about one other prof, one other class and experience, because I want people to know about this. They are all lovely. Something that really did attract me to Laurier when I went for my tour was how amazing the faculty were. They're lovely and friendly and approachable and kind and sweet and experts in their field. And now that I've had a week and a half, 2 weeks of classes, I'm seeing it. I'm oh yeah, Laurier has really attracted talent. They really are student-centric. I did also start making friends in class. I have a video on how to make friends in college and university, and it'll be linked with this video. But also, if you read like from other people and what they have to say, or listen to what other people say about making friends, a lot of them will say like, you can make friends in class. I've been making friends in classes. One other class I gotta tell you about online. Something you should know especially if you're unfamiliar with like especially the university education system, they rely on contract faculty. So faculty who just have a contract to teach 1 or 2 classes, and they don't, employment isn't guaranteed, and they're not always sure like if they'll be teaching, when they'll be teaching. So my online asynchronous class, which is my photography 1 class, interestingly, is taught by a contract faculty. Classes started on Thursday. Our class was online on Zoom Wednesday nights from 7 to 10. It wasn't until Monday, late afternoon, early evening, that he had posted. There was nothing in this course shell. Literally nothing. No content, no assignments. We had no idea what was up. All I could see was the class list. And that's because Laurier automatically populates that for every class. You can see every student in the class. So it wasn't until Monday night where I'm like, do we even have a photography class? Like, is this thing getting canceled? And he posted and said, hey, just a heads up, I only just got access to the online platform, so I'm gonna be populating it. Here's the Zoom link for our class on Wednesday. I'll see you then. I was kind of annoyed because he'd only populated a little bit, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's so unprepared, doesn't even know what he's doing. Then it turns out, oh, no. He's super chill, he's relaxed, he's laid back, he's a very cool guy. Definitely in photography, you can see someone's experience and their skills. So during his class, he pulled up his website, I pulled up his website, and I'm like, oh, this man is a very talented and gifted photographer. This is going to work out well. And he's so chill and laid back, like his assignments are so easy, and he's cool about it. So I'm like, oh, no, this still goes in the bucket of like really good faculty. Just know though that like your faculty, especially for anyone thinking of going to Laurier, your faculty may not seem on the ball, because sometimes things are very last second at Laurier, especially when they are contract faculty. So a few other things of note in my first couple of weeks at Laurier. 1, you have to follow every department on social media, which to me was wild. I thought we'd get like the emails, we'd see it on our learning space. No, you are expected to follow them on social media, so that's a thing. Now, I'm going to reference my list here because I wrote, even just for Brantford, here are all the accounts that I have to follow, that I'm expected to follow to get their updates. One card, so that's your student card. And especially if you're in residence, that's where your meal plan dollars are on. That's your bus pass. The student union, you're expected to follow. Your department or your department's student association. So for us, we have the Bachelors of Social Work Student Association. The university itself, your campus. So Laurier Brantford has an account, Laurier Milton has an account, Laurier Waterloo has an account. Student success. The Level 1 Lounge, which is like a relaxing lounge in Brantford, they have a lot of their own things, but then they house a lot of events, which is why you're expected to follow them. The gym, the Hawk Shop, which is the bookstore, and either your residence or Locus, the off-campus residence group. Expected to follow them to get their updates. It's wild. Next, the other thing I've come to learn, and you can't really teach it, you only learn it by experience, but like you've got to learn the Laurier ecosystem. It was kind of dizzying, especially during the summer when people would like email about parts of the Laurier online ecosystem and I wouldn't know what it meant. So like there's Navigator, and Navigator is for job postings, volunteer postings, in social work, our field placement documents and record and stuff. So like Navigator is there, and that's where you can see like jobs and job postings within the university, outside the university. Companies can pay to advertise their job postings to Laurier students, I think. If your program has a required practicum, that's done through there. So as a social work student, we have to do 2 practicums in our program. So our practicum and our hours are done through Navigator. There's Visual Schedule Builder. Oh my God, this was so helpful when planning my courses and my schedule. This is more for like planning your schedule. I would say June to or maybe like May to June. You pick courses in July of each year, typically. So a visual schedule builder was just really, really helpful to like figure out what's available, where would it be, how would it fit in the schedule, so you can like visually see it. And what I love about visual schedule builder, I could nerd about this for hours. You can put in just like all the course codes for the courses you have to take, and then it will give you options of what your schedule can look like. So I put in like my 5 classes for my first semester, and I think I had like 18 different variations on what my schedule could look like. So I could just click through and go like, what can my schedule look like? And it gives you all the different variations of what your timetable could look like. So you can customize it that way. Then there's Lauris, and Lauris is like, oh my God, your connection to everything. So it links to all the other parts of the ecosystem, but then that's also where you find your student information, financial information. You can apply to graduate, you can file paperwork, you do your student profile there. So Lauris is a big place. That's also where you can search for courses, either to plan them, to see them, to actually register for your courses. It's done through Lauris. Learning Space, which is where your classes actually are and where you see all your class materials, you hand in your stuff. I don't think anyone's really handing anything in person unless your prof like requires it, which is pretty unique. So we hand everything in through the Learning Space. Your degree progress. This is a really cool one-page report that shows you like the courses that you have in progress that you're doing right now, your grades, and like, do they meet your major requirements, your minor requirements, your elective requirements, your whatever requirements. It's on your degree progress report. And then there's the email system. I believe once you apply, you get a Laurier email. And definitely once you're a student, you have a Laurier email and you're expected to use your Laurier email. So then there's the email system. So you have to like learn the online ecosystem. It's taken me a while, but now like 2 weeks in, I'm pretty comfortable with like what is where and like, why do we go to Lauris? Why do we go to the Learning Space? Why would I go to, I don't know, like Navigator? And away you go. Oh, and I will say the online ecosystem includes 2 apps. So the Pulse app, which is basically like Learning Space, but on an app, you can see most of the things on there. You can see the course content. When you get grades and you get grades released, you can also see it on your app there. There's also SafeHawk, which is the safety app and you tell it which campus you're on, and then it tailors it there. If you open the SafeHawk app, there's a big red button. It's funny because someone said this, and then I opened the app and I'm like, oh, it is a big red button right in front of you that says, call the constable. You can, with the SafeHawk app, just open the app and with one click, call the special constable for your campus, and they can come to you. So something else from my first week that I came to learn, if you go to an event and it says it has a light lunch or a light meal, like a light breakfast or a light dinner, it's a snack. So there was the mature transfer student meetup. They had coffee and lots of food. And then we had the faculty association meetup for social work. And then they said there would be a light lunch. Y'all, there were like barely enough like snacks for people. It was not a lunch. It was like half of a little snack from Boston Pizza. So I learned, okay, if an event says light meal, light lunch, it's barely a snack. I also tried figuring out my food options. There are not a lot of food options at Laurier Brantford. There's the Belmont, which is like Laurier's restaurant. It was cute. It was nice. It was hella expensive and it wasn't like worth the price tag. So I'll say that about the Belmont. There's other like random food places around. There's not a lot of cafes, which I came to learn. So I'm like, okay, thank goodness Laurier has some really cool study spots. So I made that work for me. Otherwise you just gotta find like random food around the area and whatever's available in downtown Brantford. Again, part of my experience was also the Get Involved fair, which was cool. It was great to see clubs. Everybody was so warm and welcoming. So I spoke with the Social Work Student Association. I'd like to join them. I also looked at this, the Laurier Student Union. So I will say, like, get involved. And if there's not a club that you want, create one. The Student Union exists too, and a part of their mandate is to help create clubs. So definitely join a club. And then the final part of my first week experience was just finding study spots. Where are the good study spots with comfy chairs, with big tables, with outlets? Because I've come to learn Laurier Brantford doesn't really have outlets. There's not many outlets. You've got to come to campus with your devices charged. And if you are sitting beside an outlet, if you have access to an outlet, charge your stuff. On my first day of in-person classes, my phone was almost dead by the end of the day. I'm sure there's lots. I found some cool ones in the library, in One Market, in the research center. And then on Instagram the other day, I saw like, the third floor of the gym is street level with the university, but there's a fourth level and they have a really beautiful student lounge. I saw the pictures on Instagram and I'm like, that is my kind of student lounge. Lots of natural light, high ceilings, so I'll be checking that out. So all in all, I would say my first couple of weeks at Laurier they've been awesome, and they've been chaotic, and there's been a couple hiccups with the school that I will keep my eye out for in the future. Transitioning to school is hard. It's one of the biggest, it's a big stressor that can happen in life. Looking back now though, I realize I'm like, oh, I handled it pretty well as I could, and I handled it pretty well. You gotta expect a rough transition, and it was a rough transition, but it's been beautiful and wonderful, and at this moment, I'm happy with this decision. I'll talk about it in another video when I talk about Laurier Brantford, but one thing I will say is I've come to learn we are definitely not Laurier Waterloo, and I've had to explain that to a lot of people, but also like we do not have access to the same services and the same possibilities that the Waterloo students do. So I'm gonna make the most out of my Brantford experience. I will say the faculty are phenomenal. And if you go to Laurier Brantford, the impression I'm getting is like, and I feel very privileged in this, if you go to Laurier Brantford for one of the Laurier Brantford specific programs, like social work, user design, game design, Bachelor of Technology Management, you have a fierce community, and it's a great community to be a part of. And I definitely feel that. I feel a connection to my social work colleagues. And so we'll see what comes up from there. Comment and let me know any questions you have about going back to school in your 30s, Laurier Brantford, or let me know if you've gone and if you have any tips about navigating Laurier Brantford. Otherwise, make sure you like and subscribe for all things higher ed, business, mental health, and life. Otherwise, we'll chat soon. Bye for now.